Stop everything you're doing right now. This is not just another video. This is something that could change everything you thought you knew about life and death. Before this disappears from the internet, before it gets buried, before they try to suppress it, listen closely. What if I told you that everything you've been told about death is a lie? Imagine an ancient, hidden text, so powerful, so dangerous, that it reveals exactly what happens the moment you take your last breath. Not theories, not guesses, but a step-by-step map of what unfolds when you die. A book so profound, so controversial, it doesn't just describe the afterlife, it guides you through it. But there's a catch. Miss even one crucial moment in this journey, and you risk something far worse than death itself: eternal entrapment. This is the Tibetan Book of the Dead, a mysterious ancient manuscript written over 1,000 years ago that holds the secrets to what happens when we leave this world. And what it reveals is terrifying, because once you understand this knowledge, there's no going back. So, are you ready? Are you truly ready to face the ultimate truth? Because this could change how you live, how you die, and what you believe about reality itself. Let's begin the greatest mystery of human existence. For centuries, the biggest question humanity has ever asked remains unanswered. What happens after we die? Despite all our technology, all our science, all our so-called progress, we are no closer to answering this than the monks of ancient Tibet. And maybe, just maybe, that's why their teachings remain so powerful. Because unlike us, they didn't guess, they didn't theorize, they knew. And now, for the first time, you are about to uncover their most sacred knowledge. Because according to this book, consciousness does not end when your body dies. It continues. It embarks on a journey through hidden realms, places beyond imagination, where every moment is a test that determines what happens next. And here's where things get even more mind-blowing. These ancient descriptions of death, they match what people describe in modern near-death experiences. People who were clinically dead, people who saw the light, met mysterious beings, felt an overwhelming peace, describe exactly what the Tibetan Book of the Dead has been teaching for over 1,000 years. So, what does that mean? Are these just coincidences? Or are we glimpsing something far deeper? Something about the very nature of consciousness itself. What if this knowledge could change your life? Think about it. What if these teachings could unlock hidden powers in your mind? What if understanding the process of death could help you master life? Because here's the shocking twist. The Tibetan Book of the Dead isn't just about dying. It's about living. By facing the ultimate transition, you learn the greatest secret. Everything is temporary. Your fears, your attachments, your struggles, your body, your entire identity. And when you realize that, you become free, but only if you understand the journey. Because according to this book, there are 3 crucial stages every soul must pass through after death. Miss the signs, and you are pulled back, trapped in an endless cycle of rebirth, forced to live another life, and another without ever escaping. But if you recognize the truth, you can break free and reach a state beyond anything the human mind can imagine. Are you ready to uncover what really happens when you die? Stage 1, the moment of death. Picture this. You are lying there. Your breath is slowing. Your body is shutting down. And then everything you have ever known disappears. Your heartbeat stops, your senses fade. Your physical form vanishes, but you are still there. And in that instant, something incredible happens. According to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, at the moment of death, you are immediately confronted with a blinding, radiant light, so intense, so powerful, it holds the very secrets of existence itself. This light, it's not an illusion. It's not a hallucination. It's the truest reality you have ever seen. And here's where it gets crazy. If, in this moment, you recognize the light for what it truly is, if you realize that it is your own pure awareness, you can achieve total liberation. You can break free from the cycle of life and death and ascend to something beyond human comprehension. But here's the problem. Most people, they're not ready. They see the light, and instead of recognizing it as their own true nature, they fear it, they resist it. And in doing so, they slip away from the opportunity for freedom and fall into the next stage. And this is where things take a dark turn. Because once you move beyond the light, you enter the bardo of visions, a realm where the mind begins to take control, where everything you see, every angel, every demon, every godlike being isn't real. They're reflections of your own subconscious. And if you don't know this, if you don't understand what's happening, you risk being pulled into another life, trapped in an endless loop of existence, never realizing that you had a way out. That's why Tibetan masters train their entire lives for this moment. Because when the time comes, it's not about what happens to you. It's about whether you are ready to see the truth. And if you're not, the journey only gets more intense from here. Imagine this. You have stepped beyond the light. The moment of death has passed. And now, you are in a place unlike anything you have ever known. A realm where nothing is solid, where reality shifts like a dream, where every thought, every fear, every desire takes form before your eyes. This is the bardo of visions, and this is where the true test begins. The mind's reflection, heaven or nightmare. The Tibetan Book of the Dead describes this stage as a world of illusions, a place where the mind, now free from the body, begins to project everything hidden inside it. Your deepest emotions, your subconscious fears, your wildest dreams, they all come to life, appearing as breathtaking celestial beings or horrifying monsters. But here's the truth they never told you. None of them are real. Not the angels, not the demons, not the gods. They are you. They are fragments of your own consciousness, shaped by everything you have carried inside you your entire life. And if you don't understand this, if you take these visions as external forces, as something separate from yourself, you will be lost, trapped in a world of your own making. A nightmare that feels real. A paradise you will never escape. And the choices you make here will decide what happens next. The peaceful and the wrathful beings. At first, the visions are beautiful. Celestial figures appear before you, radiant, glowing, divine. They shine with infinite compassion, infinite wisdom. They offer guidance, liberation, a way out. And if you recognize them for what they are, if you see that they are reflections of your own highest self, you can merge with them. And in that instant, you become free. But if you fail, if you hesitate, if you do not understand what you are seeing, the visions change, the gentle faces turn fierce, the light shifts to darkness, And now before you are the wrathful beings. Towering, terrifying figures with blazing eyes and monstrous forms. They scream, they roar, they chase you through endless landscapes of fire and shadows. But here's the secret most people never realize. These beings are not here to punish you. They are not demons. They are another aspect of yourself, your fears, your regrets, your unhealed wounds. And if you run from them, if you fight them, you fall deeper and deeper into the illusion. The cycle of suffering repeats, and the doors to freedom begin to close. Everything you see is a test. This is the greatest revelation of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. What happens in the afterlife is not determined by some outside force. There is no external judge, no higher being deciding your fate. It is you, your own mind, stripped of all distractions, faced with the truth of what it has carried. And this is why monks and spiritual masters spend their lives preparing for this moment. Because if you do not recognize the illusions for what they are, you will be pulled into them. You will believe them. You will get trapped, and then you will be reborn back into another life, back into another body, back into the cycle you have lived through countless times before, and you won't even remember that you had the chance to break free. But if you do recognize the truth, if you see that all of this is a projection of your own consciousness, you can escape the trap. You can move beyond the illusions. And then you reach the next stage. And this is where the final decision is made, where your destiny is sealed, where the forces of karma begin to pull you into the next existence. Because beyond the bardo of visions lies the bardo of rebirth, your final chance. But before we go there, let's talk about the most important moment of this entire journey. Because right now, in the bardo of visions, you still have a choice. This is your last opportunity to recognize the illusions for what they are, to break free. And if you fail here, if you get lost in the visions, then you are pulled, dragged into the next stage. The process of rebirth begins. And here's where things get even more intense, the reality of karma. In the Tibetan Book of the Dead, it is taught that every action, every thought, every emotion you have ever had is recorded. Not by some divine being, not by a judgmental God, but by your own mind. This is karma, the force that determines what happens next, and the weight of everything you have done. It pulls you. It shapes your next reality. And here's where most people fail, because instead of seeing the truth, instead of realizing they have the power to break free, they cling to fear, to regret, to desires, to attachments, and in doing so, they are pulled into their next life. But what if you could change that? What if you could recognize these visions for what they are? What if, instead of reacting, you stayed aware? Because the teachings say that in this moment, if you can maintain your awareness, if you can see through the illusions, you can choose. You can finally break free from the cycle and experience something beyond rebirth, beyond suffering, beyond anything this world can imagine. The final test. But for those who do not see, for those who do not understand, they move forward, pulled by karma, pulled into their next life. And what comes next? What awaits beyond this moment? That is the last and final stage, and it is where everything, every thought, every choice, every action comes together to shape what happens next. Because the bardo of rebirth is unlike anything you have ever heard before. Imagine drifting in a vast, formless sea. You have passed through the light. You have faced the visions. And now, something is pulling you forward. A force so powerful, so undeniable that you cannot resist it. This is the bardo of rebirth. And this is where your next life is decided. The pull of karma. In this realm, there is no solid ground, no sky, no body, no sense of time, only thoughts, emotions, and memories swirling together in a chaotic storm. But there is something else at play here, a force that dictates where you go next. This force is karma, not as a punishment, not as a reward, but as a law of the universe. A reflection of everything you have ever done, every action, every thought, every intention, no matter how small, has left an imprint on your soul. And now, that imprint is pulling you, like gravity, dragging you toward your next existence. You are not choosing where you go next. Your karma is choosing for you, and what happens next depends on the weight of what you carry. Worlds beyond imagination. As you drift through the bardo of rebirth, you begin to see visions. Not illusions this time, not tricks of the mind, but doorways, portals leading to different realms. Each one is a potential life. Each one is pulling at you, calling you, tempting you. And depending on your karma, the world that calls to you could be anything. A human life, an animal existence, a place of suffering, a place of bliss. Because according to the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the universe is not limited to Earth. There are 6 realms of existence, and the life you are pulled into depends entirely on your past actions. The 6 realms of rebirth. Imagine 6 doors in front of you, each one leading to an entirely different version of reality. And depending on what you have carried in your soul, one of these doors will open. One of them will become your next life. 1. The God realm, a life of pleasure and ignorance. If you lived with great virtue, if your past karma is overwhelmingly positive, you may be pulled into the God realm, a world of unimaginable beauty, luxury, and bliss. No suffering, no pain, only pleasure. But here's the twist. It does not last, because even in the God realm, death still exists, and when your karma runs out, you fall. And often the fall is into something far, far worse, because in the God realm there is no suffering, and without suffering there is no growth, no wisdom, no preparation for what comes next. This is why Tibetan teachings warn, being reborn as a god is a trap, a beautiful distraction from true liberation. 2. The demigod realm, a life of endless war. Next is the demigod realm, a place of power, strength, and battle. Those reborn here live long lives filled with conflict, always striving for more. More power, more control, more victories. But no matter how much they win, it is never enough. Because they are trapped in a cycle of endless war, constantly fighting for a throne they will never truly own. 3. The human realm, the only path to freedom. Then there is our world, the human realm. And believe it or not, this is the best possible rebirth. Not because humans live easy lives, not because humans are free from suffering, but because humans experience just enough suffering to seek the truth. Unlike the gods who are distracted by pleasure, unlike the demigods who are consumed by war. Humans have the perfect balance. The ability to question, to seek answers, to choose a path. And this is why Tibetan teachings say, only in the human realm can you break free. Only here, in a fleeting human life, can you train your mind, understand the truth, and escape the cycle forever. 4. The animal realm, a life of instinct. Now, imagine another doorway, one leading to the world of animals, a realm ruled by instinct, fear, and survival. Those who lived with ignorance, carelessness, and lack of awareness may be pulled here. A life where there is no higher thought, no questioning, only hunger, only reaction. And for those trapped here, there is little chance of escape, because self-awareness is what leads to freedom. And in the animal realm, that awareness is almost impossible to reach. 5. The hungry ghost realm, a life of endless craving. Then there is the hungry ghost realm, a terrifying world for those who lived with extreme greed, obsession, or addiction. Here, beings wander endlessly, always craving, never satisfied. They see food, but can never eat it. They see water, but can never drink it. They reach for pleasure, but it always slips away. Because in this realm, suffering is caused by attachment. And until that attachment is released, the suffering never ends. 6. The hell realm, a life of unimaginable pain. And finally, the worst of all, the hell realm, a world of unimaginable pain, fire, and suffering, not because of judgment, not because of punishment, but because of hatred, anger, and cruelty carried in the soul. In this realm, suffering is so extreme, so unbearable, that it can last for what feels like eternities. But even this realm is not permanent. When karma burns away, there is another chance, another rebirth, another opportunity to escape. The moment of rebirth. Now the visions are fading. The pull of karma is reaching its peak, and suddenly you see it, a tunnel of light, a final passageway into the next world. This is the moment of rebirth, and once you cross through, your past life is gone. Your memories erased, a new life begins. The cycle starts again. And unless you prepared, unless you mastered awareness in life, you will have no idea that you have done this millions of times before. The secret to escaping the cycle. But what if you could break free? What if instead of being pulled into rebirth, you could step out of the cycle? Because the Tibetan teachings say, rebirth is not your only option. There is another way, a path beyond suffering, beyond existence itself, a path that leads to liberation, a way to break the cycle and never return. But to reach that, you must prepare. You must wake up now, because the decisions you make in this life will determine what happens after. And the truth is, most people are not ready.